Joining us now on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law, one call that the real Nick Osen, 24/7 sports Badger beat reporter. Nick, everything sucks. Everything's terrible. Basketball's the worst. What's up, buddy?
Great to be back, guys. I know it's a disappointing day. I mean, obviously we talk about kind of positivity and optimism with me, but this is one that, I thought this group really had a shot, guys. I think that with the star power and the way that they were playing the last couple of weeks, it's a tough one to swallow. And I know we'll break it down and obviously look ahead a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, how do they rebound, lack of a better word, from this loss and kind of build this team back up to have kind of a chemistry piece? I think we saw that at the end of that game, and we talked about in the first segment, it just felt like the better team being the key word, ended up winning that game in the final situational basketball situations. Like Boyd just kind of tried to take over. Blackwell, they got their numbers, they did their thing, but they just didn't kind of play as a team there at the end. Did you see that? And how do they move forward?
Yeah, Mason, it's an interesting point because I would tend to agree. I think Wisconsin obviously has the higher ceiling if you compared the two teams, but there was some execution and kind of not camaraderie, but kind of cohesiveness that you saw from High Point that maybe was demonstrated a little bit more from the Panthers late. I have a hard time kind of looking at that like big picture, because I think if you watch this Wisconsin group just last week in Chicago, they were playing like that. I do think that there were some ISO situations. I don't think that's just on the players. I think sometimes those are just kind of some of the looks given. You give the ball, obviously, as you see in NBA often, to your guy, try to get contact. You're in the bonus, see if you can draw a foul. I think there were some issues there. I actually had, a little bit more kind of problems, Mason. And I do think this probably speaks to, your cohesiveness point, maybe that team aspect a little bit. I thought the offense was fine, guys. I thought the defensive lapses, especially in the last 6 or 7 minutes, were really tough to swallow. I mean, not just a lot of people jump to the roadie play, but it's not just on him. There's got to be more communication. Make sure somebody's back there. There were clear cut, obviously back cuts that hurt them when they were trying to fully pull away, guys, when they were up 8-10. Yeah, I've got more of an issue with that. And so I do think, Mason, it speaks to some of the
That's when you smash a team as playing good defense whenever you get that lead, right?
Yeah. I mean, I felt,
Go. I was just going to say that not just the defense, but the defensive rebounding too. Knowing where your teammates are on the floor and trusting your teammates to get the rebound. That was a mess as well, Nick.
Yeah. And I'd say, I think in the second half, Mitch, it was a little bit better at stretches, but I agree early on. I mean, frankly, it's what kept them in the game, because when it was 15-5, and then there was another point, it was something like, 34-26 or 33-25, they were just on the cusp, and they had the ball, and Boyd was getting the crowd into it. I was right there by that Badgers crowd. It felt like they were on the precipice. And then obviously they did not finish the half well. I guess I will. It's not a disagreement by any means, Mason, but I will say it's so tough because I was listening. I enjoy your guys' show. I was listening in the lead-in. And I do think, especially guys, when you get into dollars and cents a little bit, and I'm sure that'll be asked about the portal, you guys know I think very highly of Greg Gard. I do want to give him and the staff credit, because there aren't many programs that would have kept some of these stars the last few years, Mason, working with what they do have NIL-wise.
Totally agree.
Nothing or anything like that, but Nick Boyd, John Blackwell, there was more money out there. Obviously, Boyd was a 1 year, but he had higher offers at Washington. I think UNC was a little bit more. Blackwell teams were trying to get him during the season. So I do want to give credit there, but you're exactly right. I think if this team just had even one more kind of defensive stopper, similar to another Carrington when he was at his best, you wouldn't just be talking about yesterday. I think you're talking about a team that's playing next week.
So you got to go try to find that balance of, all right, these are the guys that were, kind of paying to score points. It's almost like looking at it from a more professional mindset, right? Where it's like,
It
all right,
is.
we got and then we're developing and getting these gritty, grindy, defensive players that are going to maybe develop into something, but they're going to be the workhorses in that, in that back end.
Well, and I think that what I want to go off of that with Nick is I sure feel like in hindsight, Boyd and Blackwell were just lipstick on a pig with this team. And quite frankly, like, I don't doubt that Nick Boyd and John Blackwell had maybe the best dual backcourt season, regular season, that this Wisconsin Badger team has seen in a long time with the talent that they had. But obviously, it looked like they didn't trust many other people on the offensive end on their team. And you saw that when Nick Boyd takes his shot to the rack and gets blocked right at the end of it. And when the games are getting closed out, they were trying to get John Blackwell the ball more than they were Nick Boyd if they were taking a three at the end of this game. It's sure, I love what Greg Gard has done, bringing in extremely talented players in Nick Boyd and John Tanji and AJ Storr in back-to-back years now. But does he have a problem with that allocation? And was this team really maybe just not as good as we thought they were?
Tommy, that's a really, really good question. I do think like there's something to that last part that you asked about, because I was even talking, you talk to your buddies, right? They're asking, what do you think the Badgers are going to do? Making your brackets, all that. Like, I was a little bit nervous for them going into the High Point game consistently, whether I was talking to friends or colleagues. Like I said, yeah, it's going to be a really close first half, which obviously it was. I did think Wisconsin would pull away. I thought they would win. So I use that to say, Tommy, I think it goes both ways. I think that certainly when those guys were on and scoring combined 44, 49 points, like, yeah, it made things look better. I'm not looking to make excuses, because I know that the program wouldn't, and they had obviously higher expectations. It would have just been nice, because obviously I'm fortunate to, have relationships, and I was covering last year's portal, and like, obviously that last guy they added was Elijah Gray, who doesn't even stick on the team. And I'm not sure what he would have been, but essentially I wish that there was another guy that you could have just trusted on both ends, or maybe like Winter. Obviously, if he was healthy, he battled his tail off yesterday, especially defensively, but I think you could see wasn't fully 100%. So it's a good question, Tommy. I guess I would just kind of answer also with, I'm not sure what else you really could have done in terms of the roster, because, yeah, if you've got a chance to bring in a star point guard off of your star guard in Blackwell and a future NBA guy in Winter, like, you're probably going to take that chance.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, I think this team, again, with all the do all these things, like, this team just they just fell short situationally in that game, right? Mm-hmm. And had they won against High Point, had they gone and played Arkansas and then say you got steamrolled in Arkansas, like, how do we feel about that, right? Like, it's one of those where, watching that game yesterday, this team just might not have gone as far as I think we hoped and thought maybe with Blackwell and Boyd and Winters that they could, right? It was just a little short. And so now it's a mindset. I do think at this moment it'd be a little ridiculous to get rid of a Greg Gard, a guy that can bring and keep guys around, because they know he's going to showcase them, right? And they are going to have an opportunity. Tell me if you think this is kind of the case. And what's tough is you bring in Boyd, you have Blackwell, you have guys that are desirable, like other teams want them. As a Greg Gard, do you hold them accountable in the same level as some of the other players? Is there a balance? That has to start being a tough situation in college sports where, all right, this guy's sticking around, he's getting paid. How do I hold him accountable the same way I do the guy that's not getting paid as much, or the girl that's not getting paid as much? Talk to like the difficulties now in college sports in that regard.
Man, that's a great question, Mason. At least in this kind of conversation, I'm very fortunate to have gotten to know Gard over the years. And, he's somebody that's going to do what is best for the team and focus on the moment, if that makes sense. I don't think he's worried in either sense, like, hey, if I'm too hard on, I'll just throw a random player, AJ Store like a couple years ago. If I'm too hard on him, what is he going to think of me after the season? That's not how guard operates. Like he's very, mellow. He's got some really good relationships, but when he needs to get on you, like he will, like any good coach will. And in terms of this year's backcourt with Boyd and JB, there were multiple times. I think it was like December. He said, yeah, I had those guys up to my office and basically told them that I needed more out of them in terms of leadership and consistency and setting the tone. So I don't think I hold them higher than I hold, Jack Robinson or something, because the expectation's the expectation. But I also don't think I'm going to take it easy on these guys that are getting more of the payroll because I'm worried later on.
Nick Osen, 24/7 Sports, joining us here on the Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. 4 straight NCAA appearances where Greg Gard loses to a worse seed. And should the expectation be that the Badgers in the NCAA tournament are always beating the team that is supposed to be not as good when they are the favorite? And if there were any inkling of moving on from Greg Gard, do you think that Chris McIntosh has been Luke Fickleized in a way that he's scared to make any moves because of how poorly that one ended up?
I'll answer that second one first, my friend. I don't think that's even a conversation or a thought, if I'm being honest. Like, I understand, and like I said, I mean, my thoughts on Greg Gard are well established. I think that he is consistently a top 20, 25 coach. I know they just got to get over the hump. I understand that. But I don't think that's anything being discussed. And frankly, I think it'd be a little crazy, Thunder, when I know how little they have to work with at times and what he still gets out of them. And in terms of that first one, I mean, like, they know that was a game they should have had. They should have won that. Like, High Point is a damn good basketball team, but I don't think Wisconsin got an unfair draw or anything. It's just a team that, I think Wisconsin delivered that first punch, but High Point kept punching back, which those kind of smaller schools, you see more now they actually do, but you don't always see that. I think that the BYU one was a little bit crazy last year, but yes, generally you should, as a 9, 10, 12-point favorite, you should take care of business. And this is going to be a huge offseason. Like, there's no question about that, with the number one thing being retention, Tom.
Well, and I think, Nick, that at least for me, I actually don't think I want Greg Gard fired. I don't think I do, because he's gotten a 20-win season or more every year since 2021. 8 of his 10 full seasons, he's winning over 20 games. On top of that, consistently, he overexceeds in the Big Ten tournament. He doesn't won one yet, but he's won 2 Big Ten regular season titles in that time, in a conference that is full of heavyweights the entire time. And maybe they aren't using more money and maybe their money situation is way, way worse. I don't think that they have to have it that way if they wanted to over there. We've seen it with the football program. We've seen it now with the basketball program during this time. And quite frankly, I don't think there's a better option out there than what Greg Gard has done, for what Bo Ryan built, that he then learned from him, and he can be this guy. They're not going to go out and get a guy to move from a different place, that like a Dusty May or a Calipari moving on from there either. So if Greg Gard is the guy, why is this retooling never fully? It gets to this point every year where you buy in and then you're let down. Why is the letdown coming every year?
It's a good question, Tommy. Like, I don't mean to, I like the expression earlier, just like put lipstick on the pig with my answers. Like, I really don't. I mean, I do think the staff gets a tough rap at times, especially compared to a lot of staffs out there. But like, I get your question. It's kind of like, there's the momentum building. And then if it were a consistent thing, guys, I would probably have more of a concrete answer. Obviously I've followed for 20 plus years, but just the 3 seasons on the beat, Tommy, I think 2024, look, there's no question that the chemistry got a little wonky within the team around February. There are rumors, I can't, fully speak to them, but like AJ Store, people were mentioning him, shopping him around a little bit. and James Madison they were underseeded. That was not a 12. Okay. Last year, man, that was a damn good basketball team on both sides. Wisconsin, that team had a ton of chemistry, and they just ran into a buzzsaw at the wrong time, I guess, in BYU, and they still could have won that game. And then, Tommy, this year, like, I also think it'd be different if these guys were just getting trounced, you know? I mean, I think last year that was a 1 or 2 point loss. This year, obviously, just 1 point. So not looking to make excuses, and I don't think the program would either. I think it's just a kind of an accumulation of different things. And I think that next year you're looking like, I know football got obviously a lot more money in the portal. I expect Wisconsin basketball to get some more. I haven't heard figures and things like that, but I think it'd only be fair, at least for the retention pieces. And then if you're able to bring back Blackwell, I expect Winter back. Janicki, Austin Rapp told me he's coming back. Some of these guys, obviously with some of the younger big men that you have, like, you've got a real shot. I think what people also lose, guys, real quick in the guard discussion is, culture still matters. It does. I mean, if you look at the teams
that you brought that up
that are consistently getting far, I'm thinking, I don't like some of these programs, but the fan of me, but I'm thinking Duke, I'm thinking UConn, Dusty May at Michigan is a culture guy, Iowa State, Tom Izzo at Sparty, like Purdue, they have consistency. Do they use the portal? Yeah, but they're still trying to retain a bunch. I think Dusty May probably the lone exception within there. So that still matters, and Gard is phenomenal at that. I think he's a really good leader of men. I think the guys were ready. They got off to multiple double-digit leads. So I don't know. It's not just on the players, but it's not just on the staff either in my eyes.
Yeah, my last comment is just the unique beast of what, like, coming to Wisconsin and playing in Wisconsin sports, right? From the Packers, but like all Wisconsin sports, bringing people in. But let's just look at Badgers. So I played at the University of Colorado, and I remember guys coming in on recruiting trips, and if they came in at the wrong time and it was just like, it was a little cold, you're trying to recruit somebody from a certain area and tell them to come play ball in Colorado, they're just like, absolutely not. I'm not coming there. And so sometimes you can't even get players. So you have to have the right guy. So I totally agree. You get rid of Greg Gard, like, you have to have the right type of coach to, like, bring the types of players that are willing to come and take a chance and come to Wisconsin, take a chance, like go to Colorado, where it might not be where they're from or their culture or like what they feel comfortable with. That coach helps them to feel comfortable. And I do think Greg Gard is one of those types of guys that can bring anyone in from any culture, any place, any climate, if it's different, and say, we're doing this together, stick with me for a season and we'll get this thing done.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Mason. I mean, I think there's so many things he does well, guys, and it's unfortunate. I mean, you're talking about one more bucket or one of those logo threes doesn't go in, and then we're talking about kind of this heavyweight guard in that backcourt against Calipari and Acuff. Like, I think that's a different story. And if you lose on Saturday by 8 points, okay, people are bummed the season's over, but what can we do now? So it's interesting. I don't mean to demean it, and I don't think I have, because I think the tournament does matter. And I think it was a heck of a game, and they were very, very close. It's going to be interesting, but yeah, just for the record, I mean, to me, Gard is absolutely the guy. I think they can hopefully get a little more help funding, maybe not have to do so much of the canvassing and fundraising on their own, because I know that staff has to do a lot of that, and see what happens.
Nick Osen, 24/7 Sports, our Badger beat reporter right here on the Mason Crosby Show. Nick, thank you so much for jumping on today, and wish it was more fun and we had good things to talk about, but a lot of important things we got to today. So thanks so much for jumping on.
Yeah, guys, this was an awesome segment. I'm glad I could do video. Thank you so much.
Heck
yeah, absolutely. Thank you.